I thought I was helping a struggling young man. But months later, I discovered he had planned everything from the very beginning. This is the story of how trust almost destroyed my life. In this story, you'll learn how a simple act of kindness turned into something unexpected, and how small warning signs can hide behind love, comfort, and attention. Stay with me, because the truth only becomes clear at the very end. I pushed open the window of my small hotel room and let the cold breeze hit my face. It was early afternoon. The city below felt alive and restless. Cars moved slowly through narrow streets. Students crossed the road with backpacks hanging low on their shoulders. A tram stopped, released passengers, then moved again. The noise felt distant, almost soft. I had driven 6 hours to reach this place. I needed quiet. My name is Nora Ellis. I am 52 years old. I run a successful branding agency. For more than 20 years, I built my business from nothing. I worked late nights, missed holidays, and said yes to every opportunity. People often describe me as composed, organized, reliable, the woman who always looks in control. But there was something few people noticed. I lived alone. And sometimes, the silence inside my house felt louder than the world outside. That weekend, I came to the city to rest. No meetings. No deadlines. No expectations. Just space to breathe. After settling into the hotel, I walked to a university cafe I remembered from years ago. It was always full of energy. Young voices. Open laptops. Conversations about dreams that had not yet met reality. I ordered black coffee and sat near the window. Sunlight warmed the table. For the first time in weeks, my mind slowed down. Then I noticed him. A young man stood near the counter, studying the menu longer than most people would. His hair was messy but clean. His clothes were simple. His shoes looked worn. He opened his wallet, paused, closed it again. His shoulders dropped slightly. Before we continue, take a second to like, subscribe, and tell me where you're watching from. Your support keeps stories like this alive. Now back to it. He didn't ask for help. He didn't look around. He just stood there, quiet, trying not to look disappointed. Something about the moment pulled me in. I knew that expression. I remembered being young and counting coins before deciding what I could afford. I usually kept to myself in public places. But that afternoon felt different. I stood up and walked toward him. When he noticed me, he looked surprised, almost cautious. His name, I later learned, was Daniel Reed. He was 24, a literature student. He worked evenings at a bakery to support himself while studying. His family lived far away. He said he didn't want to ask them for help. He spoke slowly, choosing words carefully, as if he was afraid of saying the wrong thing. There was something honest about him. I offered to buy him lunch. He hesitated, embarrassed. Then he gave a small nod and thanked me. We sat together. He ate quickly at first, then slowed down when conversation became easy. He talked about writing stories. Not fantasy, not fame, real stories. Stories about people. Listening to him felt refreshing. I told him small things about my work. Nothing too personal. He laughed at one of my jokes. And for a moment, I felt lighter than I had in years. When we left the cafe, I assumed I would never see him again. A random moment of kindness. Nothing more. But 2 days later, when I returned for another coffee, he walked in. He saw me immediately. His face brightened with recognition. He asked if he could join me. I said yes. That became the beginning. We started meeting once a week. Coffee turned into walks through quiet parks. Sometimes we sat near the river and watched the water move under old bridges. He liked listening. Really listening. When I spoke about my business or my past, he paid attention in a way most people didn't. He asked questions that made me think. Sometimes I felt shy answering them. He talked about his dreams. Becoming a writer. Creating stories that felt honest. He said he wanted readers to feel seen. There was a gentle intensity in him. As the weeks passed, something shifted. One afternoon, while walking beneath tall trees, his hand brushed mine. Brief. Soft. I didn't pull away. A few days later, he held my hand longer. I told myself it meant nothing. But something inside me began to change. One evening near the river, He brushed a strand of hair away from my face. The gesture was careful, slow. My breath caught. He told me that spending time with me made him feel calm, strong. I looked away, unsure how to respond. I was older, experienced, careful. Yet around him, I felt younger than I had in years. At night, I thought about him more than I wanted to admit. His laugh, his quiet voice, the way he listened without judging. I told myself it was friendship. But deep down, I knew the truth was growing into something else. The turning point came on a cool evening. Before we continue, remember to like, subscribe, and share this story if you enjoy slow, real-life documentaries like this one. Now back to the story. We left a small restaurant near the water. Streetlights glowed softly against the pavement. Neither of us wanted the night to end. We walked slowly through a quiet street near the gardens. He stopped walking. Fear and excitement mixed together. I closed my eyes. He kissed me. It was gentle at first. A question without words. Then deeper. Warmer. In that moment, I forgot the age difference. Forgot the expectations people might have. Forgot the careful life I had built. When the kiss ended, I couldn't speak. Everything felt different. That night changed everything. After that, we spent more time together. Walks became dinners. Dinners became evenings at my house. He made tea in my kitchen. Sat close to me while we watched old films. His presence felt comforting. Natural. Soon he stayed overnight. Then more often. His books appeared on my table. His shoes by my door. I got used to the sound of him moving around the house. I began imagining a future that felt warm, hopeful. One evening he suggested a trip. A quiet escape. Somewhere simple. We chose a small coastal town in Spain. The trip felt like a dream. Sunlight. Narrow streets. Long dinners under open skies. He held my hand constantly. Looked at me like I mattered more than anyone else. On our last evening, we watched the sunset from a cliff overlooking the sea. He told me he loved me. His voice didn't shake. He asked me to marry him. I laughed at first, surprised by how sudden it felt. But he looked serious. Certain. He said he loved me for who I was, not what I had. I wanted to believe him. So I said yes. We had a small ceremony there. No guests. Just the ocean and the wind. I wore a simple dress. He smiled with warmth that felt real. For a while, everything felt perfect. The first weeks of marriage felt peaceful. He made breakfast. Left messages on my phone. Held my hand while we walked through the house. I felt safe. Happy. Then the shadow appeared. One evening he came home looking anxious. His face pale. He said someone from his past had contacted him. Her name was Mira. He said she was angry. Threatening to accuse him of things that weren't true. He looked scared. Ashamed. He said she wanted money to stay quiet. I felt protective. I believed him. I gave him money. He hugged me tightly and thanked me. I thought I was helping the person I loved. I didn't know that moment would change everything. At first, life returned to normal. Then another request came. He said she was demanding more. His hands shook when he spoke. I ignored the small voice inside me that felt uneasy. I helped again. Weeks passed. He seemed tense more often. Quiet. Distracted. Every time I asked what was wrong, the same story returned. New threats. More pressure. I kept helping. Because love, I told myself, means support. One morning I woke up, and the house felt strange. Too quiet. The side of the bed beside me was cold. I walked through the rooms. Empty. His shoes gone. His jacket gone. I opened the wardrobe. Half the space was empty. I called his phone. Switched off. A cold feeling spread through me. I checked my bank account. At first I noticed small missing amounts. Then larger ones. I checked my company accounts. More money gone. Carefully withdrawn over time. My hands shook as understanding hit me. There was no Mira. No threats. Only a long plan. I sat on the floor and cried. Not because of the money. Because of the trust. The weeks that followed were heavy. I felt foolish. Embarrassed. Empty. But slowly, I stood up again. I worked with my team to stabilize my business. I rebuilt what was lost. Piece by piece. I learned something difficult. Sometimes people study your kindness before they use it. Now I live near the coast. My life is quieter, simpler. I still believe in kindness. But now I listen to the small voice inside when something feels wrong. It's a hard lesson, but it belongs to me. And that is the story of how one quiet weekend changed everything.